Hello and welcome to Economics Marathon lecture. In this series, we are going to cover up 12th economics syllabus very quickly. Now you know that 12 boards is around the corner. So there is so much anxiety and pressure for the 12 boards. So how to overcome this? Which topics are important? What to study? How to study? And how to write that examination paper that we are going to look into this series. Let's start with economics. Now in this series, the important point is for you is to know how to write a paper, what topics are important and how you are going to portray best of your paper in the examination. For that, overall bifurcation of the marks is given in on your screen. So you can check that. The first chapter is Introduction to Micro and Macroeconomics. Now few quick tips that you should remember while writing the paper. Always start the question with the definition given by author. That leaves a good impression in the examination paper. So when we are writing about the microeconomics, always starts with the definition of Morris Dobb. So Morris Dobb said that economics is in fact a microscopic study of entire economy. So when you are writing this, you should understand what is microscopic study. Microscopic study is nothing but the individual detailed study of any topic. For example, if you want to study the poverty overall in India, so that is a macro analysis. But if you want to study the poverty in Pune region, if you want to study the poverty in Satara, Baramati, Kolhapur region, then that is called as microscopic study. So splitting the entire economic problem into small parts is microscopic study. So that's what Morris Dobb said, ki microeconomics is the microscopic study of the entire economy. Now we will start with the features of microeconomics that are often asked in examination. The first feature of microeconomics that it is an individualistic study. In microeconomics, we study individual aspect of every economy like individual income, individual firms behavior, price theory. So these are the individual aspect which we are studying. The second feature of microeconomics that it deals with the price theory. In microeconomics, we often find out the price of any product because microeconomics analysis basically deals with demand, and whenever we are talking about individual demand, we always conclude towards the price. So individual price theory is the feature of microeconomics. The third feature of microeconomic analysis is partial equilibrium. Equilibrium is the balance between the two factors, but microeconomics assume that we are studying only individualistic part of one factor. So microeconomics is based on the partial equilibrium. For example, when you are studying the relationship between demand and the price of the commodity, we keep everything else constant. So this is partial equilibrium, that other factors are ignored while studying the two aspects of a particular factor. The fourth feature is microeconomics is based on certain assumption, and that's why all microeconomic law starts with the word ceteris paribus or other things being equal, and the law starts, which means that we are comparing only two aspects and all rest other things are constant, or we are assuming something for that. So that is the fourth feature, that is it is based on certain assumption. The fifth feature of microeconomics is slicing method. That means the entire problem is divided into smaller parts and then we study the entire problem. The sixth feature is the principle of marginalism, where we study one extra unit. How much amount is spent to produce one extra unit. If I am selling one extra unit, then how much I am going to earn. So additional unit or the marginal principle is used in microeconomics. The seventh is market structure. That is, microeconomics basically helps us to understand market structure. Is it perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, and accordingly you can decide how and how much you are going to sell your product in the market. Then the last point, that is the feature of microeconomics, is limited scope. Since it is micro, so it has a limited scope as compared to macro. In macro we study the entire economy, but in micro we study the smaller part, so it has a limited scope. That ends, total 8 points end the feature of microeconomics. Moving towards importance of microeconomics, so where actually I need microeconomics? So for a businessman, microeconomic study is very much important for the price determination, for understanding the free market economy, for foreign trade, that how much goods are going out, how much goods are coming in, what are the tariff and taxes which are applicable while I am doing export and import. Then understanding the economic model building. The entire laws of economics are based on economic model, like the model of DMU, the model of demand, Then it is important for a businessman to take business decision. Microeconomic study help a businessman to take business decision. It is also useful for the government to deciding about the taxation policy, to deciding about the pricing policy of individual goods and commodity, and overall it is the basis of welfare. So that completes our microeconomic portion. Next we are moving to macroeconomics. Just like microeconomics, we will also start macroeconomics with the definition. The definition of macroeconomics given by Carl Shapiro, and they said that macroeconomics is deals with the functioning of economy overall. So that is macroeconomics, when we are dealing with the entire economy, overall functioning of economy. So that is macroeconomics. Now moving ahead with the features of macroeconomics, that this question you can expect in examination for at least 4 marks, that is explained with the reason, or you can expect this question for short answer. So moving ahead, the features of macroeconomics, the first and foremost important feature of macroeconomics, that is it actually study aggregates. Like micro was studying individualistic, macroeconomics study the aggregate, overall national income of a country, overall population of a country, overall poverty level of a country. So when we are studying the total or overall aggregate, that is macroeconomics. The second important feature is it deals with income theory. Just like micro was dealing with the price theory, that is individual determination of price of demand of a price of a product, macroeconomic deals with income theory, overall income of the firm, overall income of a country, overall income of a region. So we actually talk about the overall demand, overall aggregate demand, aggregate supply, national income. The third feature of macroeconomics, it's actually deal with general equilibrium. Like micro was dealing with partial equilibrium, where we are keeping everything else constant. But while studying the economic problem which relates to macroeconomics, we consider general equilibrium, where we consider all the factors which can affect or trigger the problem, and we study everything about it. The fourth is interdependence. Like microeconomics and macroeconomics, both the aspects are interdependent on each other. Macroeconomics depends on many other aspects. Rather than studying individual part, we study everything. For example, if we are talking about the poverty in India, so poverty is affected by many other reasons except population, income of a consumer, income disparity, overall structure of economy, unequal distribution of income in the country. So many things are affected to study that one individual problem. So it actually interdepend on many things. The fifth one is lumping method. Like micro was studying the slicing method, where we are distributing the entire problem into small pieces. Macro is studying about the lumping method, when we are aggregating everything and then studying the entire problem. The sixth feature is macroeconomics deals with a growth model. So overall GDP increment of a country, overall national income increment of a country, overall quality life increment of a country. So here we make growth models. The seventh is it talks about the general price level, and that is why the study of inflation comes under macroeconomics. So we are talking about the overall rise in the price of petrol. It started with 35 rupees and now it is touching 120 rupees. So what we are studying, we are generalizing the overall price level. So that study is macroeconomics. And the eighth one, it is policy oriented. With the help of macroeconomics, actually government decide about the taxation policy, the budgeting and everything. So it's a policy oriented. So these 8 features are of macroeconomics. Moving ahead with the importance of macroeconomics. So why I am supposed to study macroeconomics, or why every economic student is supposed to study macroeconomics? Because macroeconomics tells you about the overall functioning of economy, how Indian economy actually work. If you want to study that, then that is a macroeconomic study. It also tells us about the economic fluctuation. You must have heard about the things recession, depression, expansion. So where our economy is right now, we are saying that Indian economy is going towards depression, or it is going towards recession. What is recession? What is depression? How these fluctuations affect my job level? So studying of all this is macroeconomics. Then it talks about the national income. As we say, the national income of India is much lower than the national income of Germany or USA. So overall study of national income, how national income is generated, how we calculate national income. So that is a part of macroeconomics. Then it talks about the economic development. Economic development is altogether different concept than economic growth. In growth, we only talk about the number, but economic development is number plus overall social development, whether you are happy in your country or not. For that we have happiness index. So overall development of a country is actually studied through macroeconomic variables. Then it talks about the overall performance of agriculture sector, overall performance of industrial sector, of service sector. So when we are comparing all the sectors, when we are studying all the figures, overall performance matters, and that we can study through macro. The next is, it talks about the level of employment. Level of employment is how many people are working and how many factors of productions are basically used for production activities. So it talks about all these things. These are the importance of macroeconomics. Now the last point and very much important point in this chapter is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Every year this question has been asked in boards, and so we are giving emphasis on this point. So while writing this question, please make sure that you are writing the entire difference. First you have to write in a table format. There you are supposed to give the first table, that is the basis of content. Then you are going to write micro, and then you are going to write macro. Basis of content basically gives you the brief outline that how you are going to proceed with the answer. For example, the first point is meaning. So microeconomics meaning is, it actually deals with individualistic study. Macroeconomics, it deals with the aggregate study. Then the second can be tools. So individual demand is the tool of microeconomics, while aggregate demand is the tool of macroeconomics. The third part is scope. So microeconomics has limited scope, since we are studying only a small part, while macroeconomics has major scope or vast scope, because we are studying the overall economy. Then importance. Why micro is used? It is used for doing price determination of a particular product. For example, this laptop. So what is the price of this laptop? How we are going to arrive at the price of this laptop? But when we are talking about the national income, so that is the scope of macroeconomics. We are not talking about the laptop price, but we are talking about the overall income of electronic goods. So that is macroeconomics. Then the method. In microeconomics we use slicing method, in macroeconomics we use lumping method. The example of microeconomics is individual income, the example of macroeconomics is national income. So for 4 marks questions, if you are writing the 6 points, that will be enough. And with this we can end this chapter.